I'd like you to imagine your dream life. See the version of you who has what you want to have, feels how you want to feel, and is who you want to be. I'm Brittany Hoops, your hypnotherapist and manifestation coach, and this is the show where I'll teach you to master the full power of your mind, to guide you on your journey towards destination manifestation.
Yeah, take a step back.
Hello there, destination manifestation travelers. I am so glad that you were back for another episode, or maybe this is your first, in which case you have a lot of goodies in store for you because today is episode 50. Yay! Oh my gosh, 50 episodes of this amazing show. I'm just so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for the divine inspiration to create this show. It's just been the honor of a lifetime. And it's pretty crazy too, just thinking, back on my younger self. I had one other podcast before this one. It was called Soultiply. And I made it to 14 episodes of that show before the creation process for a podcast just became too much. So to make it to 50 here and to, not be slowing down anytime soon. If anything, we got the new studio in creation and all these things is just a dream come true. So let's see, by time you all are listening to this next week, Valentine's Day will have came and went. So I hope that you're feeling extra loved and you're spreading that love to the people that you love in your life most of all too. It may be your partner, maybe it's a family member, friends. I know that we all, as deliberate manifestors, we know that love is the most aligning emotion that there is. Right? It's the energy of all creation, of manifestation. And that's one of the reasons why I personally just love Valentine's Day. Some of my favorite Valentine's Day ever were when I used to live in New York City. Because you'd see all these people and they'd just be bustling about and they'd be walking down the street or they'd be in the subway and they'd be holding flowers. And it just kind of seemed like there was some sort of nonverbal, sort of silent agreement across all New Yorkers that just for one day we would just all soften a little bit, be a little kinder to one another, not be so rude or, the yelling was at a minimum that day, which was always just so lovely. My husband and I, we celebrated half of our Valentine's Day this past week, and we're going to celebrate the other half, I guess you could say, next weekend. My husband has always been talking about wanting a bonsai tree. Kind of random, but he just kind of likes how they look and is really intrigued by them. So when I saw that there was a make your own bonsai workshop in town, I signed us up. And I didn't really know what to expect. We went to it last night and it was so much fun. There's like so much more that goes in to styling a bonsai tree than like I ever knew. I just kind of thought they just came that way. But there's so much that goes into it and it's actually really cool. So you might get a chance, depending on if I could take care of this tree or not, you might get a chance to peep my little bonsai buddy on the bookshelf of my new studio. I just bought it a grow light and I'm going to take the best care of it that I can. I'll have to come up with a name for him. Maybe you guys can help me with that. By the way, I'm still plugging away at the brand new studio. I can't wait for the first episode where we will be able to record in it and I'll no longer have my boring, background and we'll have this new space. We were going to celebrate Valentine's Day in Dallas. I was going to visit, my brother was going to be in town. I was going to visit my sister that lives there and their families this weekend. But then my sister got super sick. And so we had to make the decision to just cancel the trip, which was such a major bummer. Stephen and I had reservations at this really nice steakhouse one night on Valentine's Day, but we had to cancel that too, since we would no longer be in town. And then of course, by the time we were trying to scrounge around and look for reservations here in Austin, there weren't really any reservations at any places we wanted to go left. So we just decided we're going to celebrate one weekend later, which is fine. I think love should never be relegated to just one day, right? There's nothing magical about the 14th. In fact, you could have it be Valentine's Day today if you wanted it to be. Which actually leads me to what we're going to dive into here today, okay? I want to bring some perspective back to manifestation just for a little bit. And because I think it can be really easy if you're a student of manifestation, meaning that you like to listen to all the podcasts, you like to read all the books, you like to do all the practices, it can be super easy to fall into the weeds of deliberate manifestation. So you can start to sort of view it through the lens of all these various rituals or practices or hacks or manifestation to-dos. And you guys have all heard me talk about this before. If you've listened to the show, I think it's why it's so easy to fall into the weeds is because we have TikTok. We may or may not continue to have TikTok, but we have Instagram, and you'll follow this manifestation coach. You'll follow this teacher, and they will suggest a practice to you. And their intention, I would imagine, is very good. They're just wanting to provide you something that's actionable, give you something concrete to do and think about, wrap your head around. But then as the students, we think, oh, that must make manifestation work. So-and-so said that they manifested this way, so I have to do that thing. I just have to say this affirmation 25 times and that will manifest. And that just isn't so, these practices aren't magical spells. I guess some people are into that sort of thing, but that's not the way. Magic and manifestation, although it can feel quite magical, I really, really do not see any overlap. I view it purely through a very spiritual and scientific lens. And it's not a magical spell, not these practices. These practicisms are just the mechanism in which to facilitate your alignment. So there's nothing inherently correct or magical in doing a hypnosis audio recording or scripting in your journal or repeating affirmations, whatever that practice or that ritual you may be doing. The rote action of doing it really means nothing just on its own, right? You only do it because it can help you do the real thing that is required, which is getting into alignment. So I kind of want to take today and I want to parse apart the differences between these common manifestation practices versus the real manifestation power that they are intended to create, which is helping you access your own state of alignment, and even versus what that alignment will inspire you to do, which is taking action. So let's break it down so it's real clear and you can be manifesting the most powerful way that you know how. So if you listened to my episode a few weeks ago, it was called My Proven Morning Manifestation Routine. And I wanted to give you kind of an example of what a manifestation routine could look like, right? And I shared with you all about how it isn't the practices or the routines that create the manifestations in our lives. It's the alignment that they create within you. And by doing these practices and by integrating them into your life, what you're actually integrating is the habit of coming home to your true self, your higher self, right? Coming home to your state of alignment. That's the purpose. And what's so beautiful about that is there are so many ways to do this. I gave you an example of my way to do it, but there are literally infinite ways. So let's try this on for size, okay? Just for a moment, I want you to think of someone in your life who just seems like super lucky. It just seems like everything is always working out for them, right? You got the person in your mind? Somebody come to mind? And then now I want you to think, what do you see them doing? It's funny. Some of the best manifestors I know are not people who study manifestation or the law of attraction or law of assumption at all. They're just people who maybe they love the runner's high that they get when they go on their morning jog. They're the people who enjoy a weekly jam session on their guitar with their other musically minded friends. They're the people who can set their phone down for the whole evening once they get home and just be present with their families, right? They are the people who have found ways to access the innate sense of joy and freedom that exists within them. And they didn't have to say a single affirmation in order to do that. Lucky ducks, right? How lucky to be one of those people where it just comes so naturally. Now, don't get me wrong. affirmations, visualizations, they can have the very same effect. That's why so many of us are drawn to them, right? In fact, their sole purpose is to spark that alignment within you. But that doesn't mean that every practice is going to be aligning for everyone. So if I think about myself, right, personally, I love visualization and hypnosis. Ooh, that is super aligning to me. I look forward to doing it each and every day. It's why I became a hypnotherapist. I wanted to do it and help other people with it day in, day out, right? Journaling, I mean, I enjoy journaling as in like reflecting upon my life and like just kind of thinking out loud on the paper. I enjoy that. But like scripting my future and writing that out, it kind of feels like a chore to me. Like I rather just think and visualize and be there and experience it in my mind rather than necessarily writing it down. Just a personal preference, right? Personal alignment. You might feel differently. So I want you to think of it this way. These activities, whether they're explicitly related to manifesting or not, these practices are kind of like filling up the tank of your car, okay? Just filling up, the simple act of just filling up that tank doesn't get you to your destination manifestation. It's by you living and by you being in your alignment that actually drives that car from point A to point B. Filling up the tank, you're still at the gas station, girl. You ain't going nowhere, right? You got to drive the car. You need that fuel in your tank to do that. You couldn't drive if you didn't have it, but it's not the fuel that physically drives the car. You see the difference there, right? And the beautiful thing is you don't have to constantly be filling up your tank in order to drive, right? You can fill it up, you can drive a little bit, and you can coast, right? You can enjoy it, you can milk it, you can use that fuel, and that can allow you to move forward in life. But I sometimes see some of my clients they got that like A+ student mentality, right? Which served you well in school, but doesn't help you with manifestation. They want to be the A+ student when it comes to manifesting. And so they spend hours and hours doing the manifestation practices, almost as if they're like collecting, manifesting gold star stickers, thinking that the more practices that they do, the faster their manifestations will come to them, like they're studying for some big manifestation test that the universe is going to give them, right? But can't you sense the energy that is associated with that mindset, right? It's the energy of like, give me more. Am I doing enough? Where is it? Am I enough? If I just say one more affirmation, will my manifestation appear? Like it's, right? It's that kind of energy, and that energy is not alignment. So you might as well just be cleaning out your closet or brushing your teeth. And that energy, those manifestation practices just kind of become lifeless actions. So I'll say it again. Manifestation practices only hold power when they inspire you to find your alignment within yourself. And that's why when I have a client that says to me, Brittany, I don't really enjoy visualization. Like, do I have to do that? I will say a resounding hell no. Only do it if it's aligning for you. And here's the good news. You're manifesting 24/7. You're manifesting when you're doing a manifestation practice. You're also manifesting when you're not doing a manifestation practice. The universe is always working for you and responding to your vibration. So it's not like that you're only manifesting when you're doing the practices, right? That you're only manifesting during that 15 to 30 minutes of your hypnosis recording or when you're visualizing your intended future. It's not those practices themselves that move your manifestations forward either. It's your alignment that moves it forward. And that's why one of the reasons why we do these practices is because they are designed to help you get in a state of alignment. If you're having difficulty feeling aligned, if running for you does not make you feel aligned, you might enjoy a different practice, right? So I know personally when I am feeling grumpy or if I'm feeling fearful or I'm filled with self-doubt, I know that when I'm feeling those emotions, it's very hard for me to think aligning thoughts that are going to inspire those aligning emotions that I want to feel instead. So at that point, I'll kind of have that realization, this feeling is not in alignment. I want to be in alignment. Let me go listen to a hypnotherapy recording. And I kind of like to think of it this way. It's like I'm borrowing the thoughts offered by the recording. Because me, at the time, are personally having trouble coming up with those aligning thoughts myself. And so I know my own thoughts right now are creating feelings of fear or anxiety or depression. And so I want to trade my thoughts for the thoughts offered by the recording. In fact, I did that just last night. I went to bed. I was laying there in bed. My mind was racing, right? It was playing out all these fake scenarios in my head, trying to brainstorm a solution to this problem I was facing. And then all of a sudden, I kind of look up at the clock that I have projected, onto my ceiling. And I look up and I just realize, oh my gosh, it's 11:30. Like I just spent an hour here just ruminating. Oops. And I knew I needed to get sleep. This girl needs her sleep. So I literally had the thought. I was like, I just want to sleep right now. I don't want to be trying to problem solve. I know that it's not working. Here, I just gave it an hour of my time and I'm no closer to solving this problem. And I knew then in that moment that my current thoughts were not inspiring sleep. Sleep was not happening. Usually I fall asleep like that. It wasn't happening tonight. So let me go access some thoughts that do inspire sleep. And so let's borrow the thoughts of the recording. I pulled up one of my favorite insomnia sleep hypnosis recordings. I listened to that, and then I traded my current thoughts at the time for thinking the thoughts offered by the recording. And all you have to do for that, it's not like you have to do anything. You just have to listen. When you listen to thoughts, you then adopt them. That's why, last episode we talked about the power of your attention, right? You give your attention to the recording. You give it your power, but in this case, really you're elevating your own power because you chose that. You said, this is what I want to give my attention to. Here are the thoughts that I can't access right now, but this can be my training wheels and help me get there, right? And anytime I sort of notice like a pesky old thought of mine about this problem sort of trying to butt its head in, right, and chime in, I just kind of visualize myself setting it aside and trading it out for the thought that was offered by the hypnotherapist on the recording, focusing back in, training and giving my attention back in on what I was hearing. Now, the funny thing is the hypnotherapist in the recording just so happened to be me and my voice, right? It was a pre-recorded version of me though, right? So if and when you do something like this, I might be your hypnotherapist too. So what you would be doing is you'd be trading your thoughts for the thoughts that I offer you on the recording, which are carefully selected thoughts, which align with the state of mind, the vibration, the emotions that you want to feel, right? That happen to be the topic of the particular recording that you choose. And that's why it's like, I think a lot of people just think like hypnosis, like, I don't know, there's just so much to it, like how you phrase the thoughts so that they can be accepted by your subconscious mind. And so they're carefully selected and carefully crafted thoughts that are going to really, that are designed to help you reach the vibration that you seek, right? And so sure enough, I did this within 15 minutes, boom, fast asleep. And so once I traded out those old thoughts for thoughts that were more aligning with sleep, it's then that my brain let me actually fall asleep. Now, of course, this is just one example. Remember, alignment can take on so many different forms, okay? Some of the most aligning emotions tend to be love, like we just experienced a whole lot of here on Valentine's Day, joy, exhilaration, excitement, deep inner knowing, contentment, freedom, empowerment, passion, eagerness, enthusiasm, happiness, optimism, right? Alignment comes in so many amazing flavors. And what is nice about some of these manifestation practices and ones that are specific to manifestation are that they help you work with your brain. They help your brain get on board with bringing you toward your goal. So that's kind of, I think, a little added bonus to doing these practices as opposed to any other action that you might find aligning. Both will help get you in alignment, but these manifestation practices are designed to help you work with your brain. Because here's the thing, your brilliant brain can't tell the difference between what we consider real, and if you're watching the video, you see I have big O air quotes with real, right? Versus imaginary, big ol' air quotes. Now you might be thinking, well, stupid brain, why can't you tell the difference between what's real and imaginary? Well, let me tell you this, the brain is far more intelligent and in tune with how the universe truly works than most of us are. The brain knows that both what we consider quote unquote real, which is what we can sense with our 5 human senses and our physical 3D reality around us, it is the same as what we consider imaginary, the thing that just exists on a different plane. That's all imaginary is. It exists. It's real. It just exists in a different space, a different plane. Real, what we think of as real, is what exists in 3D physical existence. And imaginary, what we think of as imaginary, is just as real. But it's just what it exists as energy in the 5D universal plane. So I know that can be really hard to kind of wrap your mind around, right? Both technically exist. One just exists as energy, and one just exists in physical form. Okay? And since we're human, that's our incarnation in this lifetime, and the great majority of our lives as humans exist in the 3D. Some people never explore the 4D or 5D, which, life would be so boring. Personally, I feel that way. I have so much fun in my inner mind. But some people just live their whole lives only in the 3D. We just kind of have learned to put that on a pedestal. But that's the fun of manifestation, right? Manifestation is the alchemy of taking what already genuinely exists in the 5D of our inner mind and then ushering it into the 3D form so that we can see it, touch it, and taste it. And so our brains don't know the difference because our brains are intelligent enough to recognize that there is no difference. Both are authentic. Just think of it this way. This is the best way I can think to understand this, okay? Think about water, right? Water can take on different forms. It can be a liquid. It can be a gas. We don't say that the liquid is real and that gas, it's imaginary. No, we understand that they're different formats, different forms of the very same, very real thing. So that's exactly how it exists in terms of our manifestations being in the form of energy versus being in the, knock on wood, see it, touch it, taste it, smell it, physical reality in our 3D. So when we do decide to engage in manifestation practices, what we're doing is we're helping the brain become familiar with the dreams that we want to bring in and attract into our 3D reality. That's part of the qualifications of moving something from the 5D to the 3D. The brain needs to be familiar with it because it needs to know that you will be safe if you make that transition from energy to matter. Okay, the brain needs to be familiar with it and know that it's going to be safe and that you're going to be safe. It needs to know that you will be okay in your 3D reality with the introduction of this thing into this plane. Because think about the brain. Its number one job is trying to protect you. Self-preservation is its number one goal. And so if it thinks, if you end up manifesting all this money, that you're going to lose all your family and friends, that your entire support system is going to shun you because they judge rich people and then you're a rich person and they're going to, leave you in the dust. You got to then show your brain, you got to coach it, you got to demonstrate to your brain through these manifestation practices that wealth is the safest, most familiar thing to it. Otherwise, it's not going to let it in. It's going to keep it in the 5D just as energy, and it's not going to allow it to manifest into the 3D as physical money that you can smell and hold in your hand, right? So that kind of reminds me of when I was manifesting a big manifestation of mine, which was paying off $200,000 of my husband's student loans. So at the time when I was manifesting this, I think it was back in 2019, maybe, I was working as a toy tester for Mattel. And I had this very long commute. I had to drive 45 minutes to work each day. That was a good day, right? Most days it took an hour each way since I lived in LA and there was tremendous traffic. So to pass the time, I loved to throw on my favorite manifestation podcasts and just allow myself to listen and daydream and kind of go into this like flow state of highway hypnosis as I drove, where kind of my body and my subconscious mind just sort of overtook the driving. And then my brain got to go and have fun and enjoy bringing my visions to life, in a safe way, of course. I wasn't distracted driving. It's just, how it is when you're listening to a podcast and you're driving, you're able to do both things at the same time, right? And so I spent over 2 hours each and every day listening to those podcasts and taking every piece of advice and then viewing and internalizing that advice through the lens of my own manifestation of thinking, okay, paying off this $200,000 debt. And by the way, I really genuinely hope that's how you use this show. Like, that's part of the reason why I wanted to create a show, is because I wanted to create something that people could use to do the exact same thing. And I hope every time you listen to an episode, you listen to my words, you listen to the examples that I give, but that you apply them to your life and your manifestations. It's part of the reason why in every intro of the show, I ask you to think about what you want to manifest, because I want you to enter each and every episode and think about it through the lens of your own life. Because that's what really helped me when I used to do that. Okay. And so I would do this for nearly 2 hours each day. And so my brain became so familiar with how it felt to feel debt-free. My brain became so familiar with how it felt, how satisfying it was to pull up those loans and to see them completely zeroed out, how proud of myself that I was that we did this, how grateful my husband was that I contributed to paying off his education, how we were a team together. What was mine was his and what was his was mine, and how we took this on together and how we dug ourselves out of this hole and made it worthwhile, right? I could think of no better investment in this lifetime than to invest in his success, because I know how absolutely smart and amazing that he is. I believe in him so deeply. So that became so familiar. That state of just being debt free became so familiar to my brain because I practiced it Monday through Friday, for 2 hours each day. And what was once this kind of big, scary $200,000 number, something that I felt at first as was kind of extraordinary, it then became ordinary. And that's what we want to do. We don't want our manifestations to feel extraordinary. We want them to feel just like day-to-day life. We want them to feel just like, well, of course, that is exactly how I live my life. And so I celebrated in my mind us paying off those loans so many times that by time we actually did it in the 3D, look at me saying the word actually. Just because it's 3D doesn't make it actually. By time we just did it in the 3D, it translated into the 3D plane, which was a few months before my husband's 30th birthday, I might add. The 3D physical celebration, it was fun, but genuinely, it kind of felt like it felt like deja vu, to tell you the truth. Like, it kind of tripped me up. To celebrate in the 3D felt so familiar to me and my brain because I had attended this dinner so many times before. Like, I knew what was going to happen next. I had toasted our glasses. I held his hand. I smiled so many times in my mind in the 5D that my knowingness and my certainty that we would experience this in the 3D was so strong already that by the time I got to that dinner, I'm like, oh, I've done this before. It was fun, sure, but it didn't feel like this huge milestone, like, because I was so used to it. It was so familiar, right? And that's when it just clicked with me, just how important safety and familiarity is to your brain, okay? That is what ushered this manifestation through the portal of 5D immediate energetic existence to 3D physical reality. Another thing that we also know is that we know that the brain has a system called the RAS, the reticular activating system. Now, if you listen to my 4-part neuroscience series here on the show, which I love, that is one of the most popular series that I have here on the show, go back to those episodes. We talked all about the RAS. But we know that when we visualize the trajectory of the life that we want to experience, it then sends the instructions to our RAS to make us more conscious, to notice more of it. So think of it this way. I kind of like to think of the RAS as sort of like the search bar at the top of your Gmail or whatever email system you use, right? So you might type in an instruction or a search term. I'm thinking myself last night, I typed in bonsai, right? And then Gmail filtered all my emails to show me just those emails for the tickets to the bonsai workshop. So how this works in manifestation is when you visualize, it's almost as if you're typing in your vision. So $200,000, type that into the search bar of your brain. And then your brain is going to show you, it's going to make you more consciously aware of those opportunities, those ideas that match that search term. Your vision, it's going to filter out all the noise and present to you those things that match your manifestation to help you turn that vision into a victory in your 3D reality. And so we want to create that filter in our minds. And it's something that has to be created. You can't just search for an email without typing something into the search bar, right? It's not going to know. We haven't gotten that far yet, right? I can't anticipate it. So you have to type it in. You have to create that filter in your minds. And visualization is the mechanism that helps us do this. So like we talked about 2 episodes ago, there is a condition called aphantasia, which is the inability to visualize. There are some people who just simply, their brains won't allow them to visualize, but that's okay. Visualization isn't the only tool that you have at your disposal. So there are several things you can do. Just feeling the feeling that is associated with your soul aligned goal can have the very same effect. In fact, you can just imagine that you can visualize, and that fires off the very same regions of the brain as actually visualizing, which is like such a catch-22. It's amazing that our brains, that just thinking, like imagining that you can, pretending that you can, does the same exact as actually doing it. It's kind of funny. I love all the new research that's coming out around this topic. So I mentioned manifesting $200,000, and I knew that if I felt that way, and if I did that, I would feel an immense sense of pride, contentment, unity once I paid them off. And those are very aligning feelings to feel. So it's all about creating that alignment. How many routes can we create to your alignment? That's the question that I ask myself every single day as a hypnotherapist and coach. I sit down with a client and I'm always thinking, how many backdoor ways can I help this person become aligned? And so we try one route, and you know what? The brain may try to block it or resistant. It might not feel familiar or safe with that route, and that's okay. We just try another. And so I want you to only do manifestation practices that feel good to you. For me, manifestation practices are fun, and I am guessing that they're fun for you too. I don't think you'd be listening to a show like this if they weren't fun for you. And if you are, please stop listening. No one's forcing you to listen to this. Only do it if it's fun. Only do it if it's bringing joy to your life and that it's aligning. So for me, deliberate manifestation is like my biggest hobby. Like some people love to run and mountain climb and do art. I love to manifest. I love to deliberately manifest. And it's because I have fun when I do it. And so it's probably similar for you too. I think there's also something special to these practices where the intention behind the practice is also very sacred. So I kind of personally love the idea of honoring the realness of what exists in my 5D. Abraham Hicks describes the 5D as your vibrational escrow. It's this energetic space where all your manifestations are held, right? Dr. Joe Dispenza describes the 5D as the unknown. It's the energy of all that is. It's the realm of all possibility. Because anything you can dream up, boom, automatically exists there. And so I like doing these practices like hypnosis and visualization because I feel like it sort of honors the realness of what I already know exists in the 5D. I'm not one of those kind of people that assumes that it's only real if it's in my 3D reality. I'll believe it when I see it. I say that in like an old grumpy man voice because it seems like old grumpy men tend to be so rooted only in their 3D reality. And it's so outdated. Doing a manifestation practice reminds me And I kind of hesitate to make this comparison because we know manifestation is not a religion, but it does give me the same sort of feeling as how some people may honor a loved one who's passed or say a prayer by lighting a candle, right? Maybe they'll honor a saint, whatever it might be, depending on what religion they are, right? It's a practice, lighting that candle, saying that prayer that offers respect to the past. We see that in some religions. Well, doing a manifestation practice, in my mind, offers respect to the future that you're creating. It sends more aligning, loving energy, more intentionality to the energy of that manifestation that already exists. And I think I'm feeling this way about it especially strong, given that my current manifestation that I'm manifesting is growing my family. Like the spirits of my children, I know so wholeheartedly that they already exist. And I feel this especially strong, because I get to talk with them. I get to visit and communicate with them and love on them each and every day. I don't have to wait for them to be 3D crying babies in my arms to be able to do that. There's no reason to have to wait. I honor their realness now because I know, just like my brain knows, that real does not mean only 3D. Plus, another reason to do this is why not enjoy your manifestation now? Like visualization and hypnosis is great for that. So if you have this thing that you so desperately want to experience in your 3D reality, that it's got you all up in arms and all sad that it's not 3D yet, it isn't here yet, why not just go visit your destination manifestation now? Why not gift yourself a taste of it now, just for the fun of it? I love visualizing the next level of wealth that I'm manifesting, feeling the relief in that, the freedom, the choices, the fun. Like, ooh, where are we going to vacation to next month? Let's look at all the options, experiencing that vibration now. Like, you don't have to wait to feel that until it's in your 3D reality. Why not create it now simply because it feels good? Again, it doesn't need to be 3D to be real to you. You don't need it to be 3D in order to experience it. And I think why we need to remember this is because Abraham Hicks says that we only want to manifest things because we think that we will feel better in the having of them. So why not feel the feelings you'll feel of having them right now? You have the power in your brain, in your mind to create that. You don't have to wait. And that's what's such good news. Like, when you think of it that way, it's like, why are any of us sad that we don't have our manifestations yet? Because we can go visit them whenever we want. And that's what's so funny about this. That's another catch-22 of it all. Because when you do that, when you really give yourself over to enjoying those aligning feelings now, well, that's going to help you usher it into your 3D reality. It's the bonus sort of after effect. And so this is kind of a little trick of the trade I'll share with you. When I encounter a client who's really bummed that they don't have their manifestation yet, I know, teacher me knows that they have not been doing their hypnotherapy homework. I can call them out. I say, you haven't been listening to your hypnotherapy, have you? And they kind of look real guilty, right? Because they got caught, right? Because I know that if they were spending time each and every day in that space, in the 5D, visiting their destination manifestation in their mind, feeling those feelings, seeing what they see, feeling it, making it as real as they possibly can in their inner mind, if they were doing that, they wouldn't be bummed. They'd be feeling so much better. They wouldn't be missing it. There's nothing to miss. They visit it all the time. You'd feel like you already have it. You wouldn't be bummed because you just spent 30 minutes there with your money, spending your money, going shopping, enjoying your money. You know the realness of it because you just felt it. So why not enjoy it now? Why not? You have that power. Whatever practice you decide to do, it has one purpose and it has one purpose only, right? To help you find your alignment to your joy. Now, there's this quote that I've just been sort of loving from Abraham Hicks lately, and I want to share it with you, okay? They say, today, no matter where I am going, no matter what I'm doing, no matter who I'm doing it with. It is my dominant intent to look for things that feel good. When I feel good, I am vibrating with my higher power. When I feel good, I am in harmony with that which I consider to be good. And when I feel good, I'm in the mode of attracting that which will please me once it gets here. And when I feel good, I feel good. Isn't that great? I love that quote. What does all this mean? You might as well say, today, no matter what routine, practice, exercise, ritual I decide to do, whether it's related directly to manifestation or not, it is my goal to look for things that feel good. That's a translation of that quote, right? Because that's the point. That's the purpose. Because alignment puts you in the emotional state of God, of your highest self, of manifested me, of the version of you who has aligned with the universe's flow. Think of it this way. Have you ever ate a food that was so freaking good that you just like needed someone else to try it too? I do that all the time. My husband gets a little annoyed by me. I'll eat something so good that I know he's going to love. And I'll be like, babe, 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 you have to take a bite of this. Like I'm literally like force feeding him, right? Because I need him to experience this too. The biggest example of this was we went to Disney World 2 years ago with some friends. And my friend ordered this like snickerdoodle cookie in Epcot. And I'm a chocolate girly personally, so I don't go for no snickerdoodle, right? But my friend was like, hey, do you want a bite? And he has good taste. So I'm like, yeah, sure. He literally has good taste. And so I took a little bite and oh my God, this cookie, it changed my life. Like it was literally, I think to this day, it is the best tasting thing I've ever ingested. Like it was so good. Like, and so I knew later, like I had to go back and get one of my own. I like didn't want to be like too like crazy about it, you know, in front of my friend. But I was like, later, I'm going back. I'm getting one of my own and I'm going to convince my husband to order one. I hyped it up so big time. I dragged him back to the bakery so we could order another one. And I was right. It absolutely rocked his world too. We still talk about this cookie. So when you vibrate in your highest power, I kind of like to think of it that it's like God, the universe, your highest self saying, please, I want you to see the good that's in store for you. Please see it. Please feel it. Please know its realness. Come on, take a bite, come, do it. That's what's happening. And here's another beautiful thing that I really love from this quote, right? They go on to say, when I feel good, I am in harmony with that which I consider to be good. And what's cool about that, that means that you don't have to focus on your manifestations to be in harmony with them. All you have to do is feel good, be in alignment, and then that automatically puts you on the path for all that you consider to be good. So as long as I'm in my joy, I don't even have to think about my future wealth. It's on the way to me. It's in harmony with me. When I feel good, I'm in the mode of attracting that which will please me once it gets here. And like we talked about before, when I feel good, I just feel good. And that alone is worth something. That is valuable, right? Why not visit your manifestation in your mind right now? Simply if the only benefit was that it just felt good to go visit it. Like that's enough. I think like society, and I think this is like a puritanical kind of like religious sort of thing, but society like just doesn't want you to feel good. And that's sad because that alone is a good enough benefit. Your feeling good is worth something. And I don't want you to forget that, you know? And I think it's good, you know, it goes from like atoning for your sins and giving penance and all these other like not good organized religion sort of, you know, pieces talking, right? But that's not the God piece. Those elements. God, the universe, wants you to feel good because that's alignment. When you feel good, you see through their eyes. You see it as they see it. It's you tasting the bite of the cookie that they want you to experience. That's your alignment. And so I like to think of it this way. You know, I genuinely don't doubt manifestation. I've seen it just play out too much in my life that like I'm fully on board with it here. But sometimes if I ever do begin to doubt, which it's been a long time, but if there was for some reason, some crazy backward reason that all the mystics and the scientists and the spiritualists over the ages got this whole thing wrong, And let's just say we die and we go to heaven and we find out, oh yeah, that manifestation thing, like you just made that up. That actually didn't have anything to do with it. And I'm like, oops, sorry, I dedicated my life to that. If we found out that manifestation was just a load of hogwash, then we'd only be left with the fact that it made us feel good while we did it. If that is the worst case scenario, that, oh, darn, I spent my time feeling good, oops, then sign me up for that, right? If that's the worst case scenario, that alone is worth it, whether my manifestations become my 3D reality or not. And then what you know, that is another huge catch-22 we find ourselves in. Once you get to that place where you just do it because it just feels good to you, not because you're trying to get something out of it, that's a place of detachment. That's the place where you're just so enjoying and relishing and feeling good that you've awakened those possibilities that you seek and you let them on in. Your manifestations then swoop on in when you least expect them. So you don't always need to focus on the manifestation itself in order to manifest it. Detaching from the manifestation and then focusing in on your alignment is enough. It can be that easy, guys. In fact, I would say this: if you notice yourself feeling out of alignment, when you do focus on that manifestation, you got some beliefs that are just hanging on and you just, it's not feeling good to you. I would say that is usually a good indicator that it is time to stop thinking about your manifestation and just focus on feeling good instead. It's yet another age-old catch-22. It's the best thing that you could do for your manifestation at the time. And this leads me to a question, actually from a Destination Manifestation listener. I told you guys I'm going to be answering more questions that you submit in. And I'm going to recite their question here, and then I'm going to answer it, okay? So the question is this: I'm curious as to what you do when you feel like a manifestation is taking too long. I feel relaxed about my manifestation, and I don't feel as much stress as I once did, but it does kind of feel like they're taking too long to come. Now, this is an absolutely amazing question, okay? Thank you for submitting it in. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to translate what I hear as a manifestation mindset quote or coach when I hear a question like this, okay? Here's what I'm hearing. Hey, I used to have a lot of stress and resistance around this manifestation, but I've done some really good work to release that. Yay, good job. But there's still this pesky assumption and belief that I'm holding on to that says when I think this manifestation is taking too long, it ends up taking too long. And that belief, it just doesn't feel good to me. It doesn't feel aligning to me. And when I don't feel good and I'm out of alignment, then two things begin to happen. It keeps my dream from manifesting. And then in response, I end up manifesting exactly what I currently believe is the manifestation takes longer. Isn't that interesting? You see, that's what I hear when I hear that question. And so I want you to picture it this way, okay? Let's imagine that you have set out towards your destination manifestation in your car. You made it halfway to your destination, so you made some progress, and then you end up getting stuck in one of those roundabouts, going around and round in circles, no longer moving forward, no longer moving towards your destination because you got stuck in this belief, this is taking too long. And wouldn't you know, the more you're stuck in the belief it's taking too long, it just takes longer and it takes longer and it takes longer. So what I would suggest to anyone facing this issue, and especially this listener, in addition to everything we've already talked about, is to solely give your alignment your attention. So if every time you think about your manifestation, you feel like it's taking too long, then I want you to stop thinking about your manifestations because that thought is keeping you out of alignment. Focus on doing something that feels fun to you. It can be completely unrelated to your manifestations. In fact, I would recommend it's completely unrelated if you can't think about your manifestations in an aligning way. Maybe you decide to listen to some good music. Maybe you go read a book. Maybe you go to a trivia night. Maybe you go and get that runner's high. Go for a good, nice long run. Whatever you enjoy, do it and relish in it. I want you to refine your alignment. And that's going to get you out of that roundabout you've been stuck in. And once you feel ready, listen to a hypnotherapy audio. If your thoughts aren't leading you to your manifestation, then borrow the thoughts of a hypnotherapist. But the alignment is key. Now, here's something we haven't touched upon yet, okay? Great. Yay. Got it. Alignment's good. We get that. But why? Does it serve any other purpose than just feeling good? Although we have established feeling good is a good enough purpose in within itself, right? But the answer is yes. It's your surefire way. By being in your alignment, it's your surefire way to taking action. It's not enough to just do the manifestation practices. The manifestation practices only work if they facilitate a feeling of alignment within you. It's also not enough to just be in alignment, although things will certainly flow to you much easier that way. But part of truly being in alignment, part of how you know you are truly in alignment, is that you are then inspired to take action from that energy. So I'll work with clients that are like, Brittany, I'm in alignment, but I have no clue what to do to manifest the money I want to manifest. Or I'm in alignment, but I don't feel like taking action to build my business or apply for a new job or to learn about investing or doing any of the things that would lead to money, right? And so when I hear that, it just tells me that there's actually a deeper level of alignment for you to surrender into and to find. You think you're there, and I understand why you think you're there, but we know you're not there because you're not taking action. What you think you're experiencing is alignment, but boy, oh boy, just you wait until you allow yourself to experience it even deeper. You can go deeper. You aren't there yet. I'll give you an example of this in my own life. I remember after my wedding, I went to Bora Bora for my honeymoon. Oh my God, it was that trip was just amazing. We stayed at the St. Regis Bora Bora, an overwater bungalow. I saved up for months for that trip. It was like a bucket list trip, right? And during the wedding planning, the actual wedding itself, I didn't even really consciously realize that I was all that stressed. Like if you would have asked me, hey, Brittany, are you stressed? I would have probably said, I'm busy, but I'm not stressed, right? But once we got to Bora Bora and we went on that 9-day vacation, it was the longest vacation I'd ever taken in my life. I discovered a level of relaxation that I didn't even know existed. Like I didn't know that my body and my mind could feel that relaxed. I never experienced it before. It felt like someone had cleaned this window pane that I didn't even realize was dirty, but now it was clearer than I ever even thought it could be. It's kind of like, have you ever gone to I wear contacts. Have you ever gone to the doctor and you thought your prescription, your eyeglass prescription, your eye contact prescription was good? You're like, I can see. But then you get the new prescription. You're like, whoa, look how crisp everything is. Like, that's what it felt like. You thought you were seeing, but you weren't seeing as good as you could. So I had only experienced up until that point, like weekend trip relaxation or 5 to 7 day vacation relaxation. But 9 days after a big life event, unplugging from the real world and just relaxing, that unlocked a level of relaxation I didn't even know my body was capable of feeling. And so that's how alignment might be for you right now. You might not truly even know the depths of your own joy just yet. And that's a really good thing. There is so much more for you to discover. Because when you are really flowing towards your destiny, when you are truly in alignment to your goal, and that goal of yours requires some sort of action on your part, the pieces are going to line up. You will be inspired to take that action. It will flow right through you. And it can come through so many different forms. Maybe it's an inspired idea that you have. Maybe it comes to you through the form of a coincidence or a happenstance. Maybe someone else approaches you and asks you about it. You receive some sort of invitation. But action will have no choice but to take place when you have found your alignment. Okay, this is yet another reason to go find your joy, even if it's on an unrelated topic, and trust that once you are in your highest alignment, that idea for action or that invitation towards action will find you. I experienced this just the other day, okay? Here I was working on my new content creation studio space. I was going to decorate it, looking to decorate it. And there was so much resistance, like just bubbling up. I was on TikTok, I was on Pinterest, I was on Instagram, doing Google image searches, like just searching, desperately searching for ideas. And I couldn't find anything that I liked. And I was getting kind of all in my feels about it, right? I was feeling like a total failure. I was telling myself this false belief that like, I'm not creative for this project. Other creative people that I know would have no trouble designing this space, but I can't do it. It isn't for me, blah, 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 right? Luckily, I know myself well enough and I know how manifestation works well enough to realize and stop in that moment and say, okay, Brittany, you were completely blocking this action from happening for you. No wonder you're having trouble designing the studio space if you're going to hang out in that vibration. This vibration is not going to allow you to take action. So I knew I had to shake up the vibration, right? I had to get myself into a different vibration. I could have done a hypnosis audio. That would have been a great choice. But this time I just decided to coach myself on it. I coached myself out of it. It was going to take a little less time. So I did some self-coaching. I reframed how I was looking at the situation, what I was thinking about myself. I realized the total absolute lie it was to think that I wasn't creative. In fact, I'm a very creative person. And then I just decided, you know what? I'm going to sleep on this. And so the next day, I came in with fresh perspective. I sat down. And I kid you not only did I design the studio, but I completely, in one day, redid my entire branding for the whole company myself. And I think it looks pretty great. I want you to check out the new podcast art. You might have noticed it on the show here. I think it looks awesome. Check out the new website, BrittanyHoops.com, completely revamped. It looks amazing. I did it all in one day, no joke. And it was a long day, okay? And I was in such flow. Like I was such flow. The action was just flowing through me. I just didn't want to stop. I just worked all day, worked all night. And I even sort of tickled myself because that previous day when I had all those limiting beliefs and I was holding on to all that resistance, I spent hours getting nothing done, zero action. But the very next day, once I released the resistance, got into my true alignment, more action happened than I would normally expect out of myself in weeks. Okay? Action just flows when you're in alignment. So if the action ain't flowing, it simply means you are not at the depth of alignment that is required to usher in who you are becoming. Boom. Wow. Guys, that's a big realization. Oh my goodness. This might be one of my favorite podcast episodes to date. I know I've said that about a couple past ones, but this is episode 50. We're reaching new realms here. I hope you found this as aligning as I did. So if you enjoy the show, especially for the 50th episode, please help me celebrate. Go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to the show, even YouTube. Leave a rating, review, or a comment. I love to hear from you and know what you find most aligning about the show too. And also, if you're like me, if you enjoy visualization, if you enjoy harmonizing with the abundance of your manifestations and gifting that experience to yourself now, feeling the realness of your 5D right here, right now, and no longer feeling like you have to wait for your 3D senses to play catch up, then I have the perfect free tool for you. It's my ultimate manifestation hypnotherapy audio recording. It's every manifestation lover's dream manifestation practice. Honestly, I personally couldn't fathom how someone could listen to this audio and not feel a tremendous sense of alignment and inspired action from it. That is what it is designed to do. It is super valuable, and it's one of my best manifestation practices that I personally dedicate my time to each and every day. And I want you to experience it too. So just go to BrittanyHoops.com/audio, visit the link in the show notes. All you have to do is provide your email address and I'll send it over to you completely free. It's my gift. Plus, I will say it is a great little taste. It's like a little appetizer for the type of hypnotherapy audios that you can expect for my upcoming Manifested Me Vault that's going to be opening this spring. It's going to be a full subscription library of manifestation-only hypnotherapy audios that you can stream and enjoy. So if you enjoy this audio, you will freaking love the Manifested Me Vault. And your manifestations will certainly thank you. So until next time, I'll catch you in the next episode.
I don't know.